Hey, this is Andy Brown. In this video, we're going to take a look at Device Farm. So Device Farm allows you to take an application, a mobile application, a desktop application, and supposedly a web app, and test it against a bunch of devices. And these devices are actually hooked up to real physical phones and things like that that it will test against. So I'm in here in Device Farm. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. So go ahead and we'll just say my Android app. Okay, and so here we have the option to create a run. In order to do this, we're going to have some kind of mobile application. And luckily, I've built one for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to open this up in github.dev by pressing period. And in here, I have a folder called Device Farm. And in there, I have an APK that I've built out. It's a very simple application. It has a couple buttons that we can click. And what I really wanted to do with this demo is I wanted to write test code and test against it, but unfortunately, the way I built the app, I used Jetpack Compose, which is the modern way to build out components. And for whatever reason, it just is almost impossible to select those components to run our test suite. And I would have had to use the XML version. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through the code so you have an idea of what's going on here. So this is a Colton code. So in an Android app, you can use Java or Colton. I extracted this one file out of the entire project. So this is not everything, but the idea here, and we're not getting any nice syntax highlighting here. Let's go see if I can get some. Maybe get Colton here. Colton. I don't know how to spell that, so I'm going to go take a look here. Colton language. Not whatever that thing was. Kotlin, Coltlin, I don't care how it's pronounced. But anyway, we're going to go here. And I just want to get some syntax highlighting. I don't care which one it is. We'll do this one here. There we go. And I'm going to go back over to that Kotlin or Kotlin file. Great. And so let's just take a look at what we have here. So the way it works is we have our main application, and in here we are calling this main file. And so in this main file, we have a surface. A surface is just, it's like basically a rectangle, and it's just defining the space that we're going to define our components. In there, we have a column, and with the column, we have this greeting. This greeting is just displaying a text called Hello Android. And then we have a button here called World Button down below here. This button has a text called World, and when you click it, which is here, it'll set this variable text to be world, and we'll replace this hello Android to be hello world. And the way you're supposed to be able to select elements is via this test tag. So this test tag would show up over here in our Ruby code as the ability to select it as an accessible ID. And so that didn't work. And there's many reasons as to why. And so the internet told me you should do this test tag resource ID and add this experimental feature so that it's treated like a resource ID. And so then I went back and updated my code to BID, and it still doesn't select. So I think that just as long as you understand that there is some kind of mapping between your components and then the code here, then you're going to understand what this is. The way this code works is that you can use different types of testing functionality, but basically Device Farm, for the most part, runs on Appium, and Appium is a way to establish a connection to your Android application, and it's also will tell you what kind of driver you're going to use. So the driver that we're using is called UI Automator 2, and then that underneath is using the Selenium framework in order to do tests. So you see down below here, we have a web driver that says Selenium, so it's waiting for the elements, stuff like that. So understand there's Appium, UI Automator 2, Selenium, and a bunch of other stuff going on here. But anyway, that's just kind of the overview and just a visual of how to map that together. And so this APK is actually when I used to have two buttons. The code here is actually showing one button, and this code doesn't even have the compiled with the test tags in them. But the point is that we can utilize this APK in order to show how to use Device Farm. So an APK is basically the compiled out file of an Android application. And so I had to sign it so that it says it's coming from me, and then we can upload this. So what I'm going to do is just select this from my downloads. There we go. I just don't show me clicking the button through that. I don't like to show my local downloads, but so here I've added the mobile app. And you can see it's showing some information like what SDK version it is and what's the target SDK. But we'll go ahead and hit next. And so here are the tests. And so you can write Appium in a variety of languages: Ruby, Node.js, Python, test ng, which I don't know that's, or I guess it's Java and then Java here again. And so I was trying to implement Appium Ruby, but this built-in fuzz is in here. There's another built-in one called Explorer, which is not showing up here. I'm not sure why. But what this test will do is it will just randomly test your application by doing random things. And the idea is that as long as it doesn't crash, then your app is okay. And so that will be the test that we'll run here. So we'll go ahead and hit next. And what it's going to do is ask us what devices we want. So we can create a device pool and select a bunch of devices. I don't really want to create a device pool, but I just want to show you that there's tons and tons of different devices that we can utilize. The reason I don't want to create a device pool is I don't want to increase the cost, because every time we add a device, we are increasing our cost here. Well, I'm going to just stick with the default here, which is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7. We're going to go ahead and hit next. And here's where we could add additional data, install other apps, whether we need other network settings, anything additional that we would set. This is specifically for Android. Of course, you could upload an iOS app, and this process will be slightly different. Then we have our execution timeout, so I'll leave that alone. And so everything looks good here. We're going to go ahead and hit confirm and run. So now that it's running, we can click into here, into this run, and we should be able to see this in real time, what is happening. So I'm going to go down to the device. Maybe it's over on video here. But we should be able to see. Sometimes this thing's a little bit slow, but it should show us what's happening. So again, I'm not sure if we're going to see anything here. And if we don't, that's not a big deal. But I'm going to wait here. And if it does show something, I'll unpause, okay? I did want to show over here that we see what is pending over here, the setup suite, the built-in fuzz suite, and the teardown. So it is taking its time to spin up. But again, I'm going to stay on here and see if I see anything, okay? All right, so after waiting a while, we can now see there is a video here. So it's past the setup suite. And so we can watch this video. And so you can see the application here with the two buttons. Later on, again, my tests only have one. But yeah, it's randomly doing something. So it's actually clicking the button, and it just randomly clicked Hello Mars. So it clearly is doing something. It shows all the tests have passed. So that's pretty cool. So pretty straightforward. If we had tests in here, there'd be another tab for our actually, it might even show up here, but it would show all of the tests that it has passed. But of course, I'm not able to get those working here today. So another thing that we can do, which I think is worth checking out, is that if you have an Android app here and you just want to test against any kind of device, you can start a new session here. And then from the device, you can choose whatever you want. So we'll choose something else like, let's say, I've never heard of this, but it's definitely not a phone they sell around here. So we'll choose the Xiaomi, I believe that's pronounced. And we'll go ahead and confirm and start this up. And so what this is going to do is request a device that we want to utilize, and we're just going to wait here till we can get the device. So sometimes it takes longer than other times. We'll wait here. Okay, so I'll just pause here. All right, so it is now here, this device. And so if we go down below, we could upload whatever we want, the APK, or if since we have our project here, we can just go ahead and select it. So I've selected it, it says it's uploading it. And so it should appear here on the phone. It did have a pop-up as if I had to accept something, so I'm not sure if I missed that. I'm going to try and see what I can do. I just dragged up. And these are public phones, right? So if someone else types something in here, you might see it. But I'm going to go back to home here. And maybe we'll go to recent apps. And this is not working as I hoped it would. So I'll go back here. And I'm going to go to settings. Maybe we can go to apps here. It's really hard to scroll on this with my my phone here. And so this one's not turning out too good. So I'm going to just stop that one. I'm going to use a more standard phone. But we'll go ahead and start another session. And maybe we'll do something like the Google Pixel 8. Okay, that's more of a standard phone. We'll go ahead, hit continue. And we'll start up this one instead, okay? All right, so the Google Pixel 8 has started up. I'm going to go down below and I'm going to choose the Hello World APK. And so we're going to wait and see what happens here. So it should get installed. It's right here, actually. I just didn't even notice. So here's our application, and you can see I can go back and click back and forth. So that is a way that if you really need to go in and debug a very particular phone, you can do so. You can tell that this thing is extremely limited in this UI, so just understand that. I did see an option over here where you can have private devices, so it makes me think that maybe you can request device instance, so you have no permission for device instance. I'm just kind of wondering if you could attach an external device, but why would you need to do that if you could just do it locally, right? Yeah, so we have dedicated devices, so that means that it's a device that AWS owns, but they don't let anybody else utilize. I guess that's the case there. And then I guess we have desktop browsers, which is interesting here. So this is not something that I have tried out as of yet. Desktop browser testing projects allow you to organize Selenium sessions related to artifacts. So if I'm reading this clearly, it sounds like you can test your web application in different desktop browsers. So that's kind of cool, but for mobile devices, this is sufficient. So I'll call this complete, and we learned enough about this particular application. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this, and I will see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.